Well, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you guys. But today we are going to be making a slab box. We're going to be using this big old hunk of clay. I'm going to be taking off a little bit, rolling it into a slab. And then we're going to be talking about some of the tools and some of the techniques that we're going to be using to make this a very nice, crisp, clean box. First, here are the tools. We have our needle tool, our modeling tool, wooden rib, our metal rib or our smoothing tool, and our scoring tool. And this just blunted knife. Some people use a fettling knife, but ours seem to walk away sometimes. But we make do, and that's going to be our fettling knife. So first, we're going to be cutting this little block of clay off here. It's really satisfying. So come on in and get a closer look. Using a wire tool, I wrap my wire all the way around, pull it horizontally, and then I just pull the whole thing straight across. And it peels up really nicely and leaves a really cool little pattern here. We're all set with this. Set that aside. I'm going to put all my tools away for right now because first we have to flatten this thing out a little bit more. So I have my rulers that I use as a thickness gauge, and I'm going to put them on both sides of the clay. And when I start rolling, I'm going to roll from the middle of my clay outward and then back. So here we go. I'm going to roll it this way and then this way. I'm going to turn my clay regularly. So after every roll, I turn my clay. And you see this texture. This is the texture of the cloth. We don't want that later, but I just want to show you how easy that is to just smooth out. I want to treat this clay like a board. I don't want to peel it too much. I don't want to bend it too much because the clay kind of has a memory to it. And we want to build into that memory all of that, the flatness that we have. Okay, we're all set. It is completely flat and we have a nice slab. I can continue to roll this slab out just a little bit more so that I can get that one all ready. After you have it all ready, then you're going to grab a piece of drywall. We have this drywall boards. If you have a regular board, you can cover it in like a brown paper towel stuff that they have at school, or you can just use a canvas. You don't want to use a canvas for more than a night because it really dries it out. Same thing with the drywall. It dries it out. That's why it's called drywall. So what I'm going to do is put my board right on top of my clay, pick up my canvas, flip it over, and peel this off. That way the clay never bends and it stays completely flat. So we're going to put this aside to dry out. You can either stick it outside for about 10-15 minutes. And check and lift, and what we're looking for is that the clay becomes leather hard. Okay, I went ahead and rolled out the other little slab here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick this right on top of here. It will dry the other one out just a little bit more, but this is kind of the way that we would store it at school. Take the whole board and put it in the bag. Just kind of drape this underneath, seal it, so that the edges don't get too dry. And then I'll be back and show you how we assemble our box. Oh, that was fast. Okay, now what we're going to look for is that if it's pretty close to being leather hard, and you see how it droops a little bit too much for me if I let it go. I still have to go a little bit longer with a blow dryer, so that'll just take a few more seconds. Of course, really sped up. Okay, I think our slabs are just about done. I blew dry them, but you guys might put them in the bag overnight on the drywall, and so there you go. But let's check them out and see what we've got here. Of course, if you have a toad on your clay, you'll have to set him aside before you continue. Now, your slab should be leather hard, so when I pick it up, a big portion of it kind of rises. It will still bend a little bit, but you don't want it to bend a whole lot, because remember, we want this to be nice and flat so our edges can be really nice and crisp. So I'll flip this back over, and you'll see that if I support it in the middle, it doesn't really bend on either side. It might bend a little bit this way, but that gives it a really nice working softness there. And I can easily mush the edge, and you want to be able to easily mush that edge. Easily mush that edge. And for our box, we're going to be using a very nice little custom cutout template. This is 4 inches by 4 inches. It's nothing super special. I just want to show you what you want to do so that you have a plan in mind. Okay, now I'm just going to carefully take these out. Whoop, that one did not cut all the way through. Stack them together. Just double check that they're all the same size. So we're only going to worry about 4 sides. Okay, so what I've done is I've laid these out so that I can just tip them up, and that's where they're going to be connected. Yeah, sorry about our little, I don't know how toads get in here. Anyway, we're going to tip them up, and so this side is going to be connected to this side of the box. This side is going to be connected to this side of the box, or this side of the slab. So each one is going to have one side that is going to be connected, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to rough this side up here, and then I can rough this side up. And here's how I use the scoring tool. Some people go down the side like this. Some people go down, try to score this way. I like to rough it up a lot more than that. I go like this. That way, if any air or any little bubble gets trapped in there, it has an easy way to get out. It doesn't travel along a long route. So with this one, stab in and draw it out. Stab it in and draw it out. Or you can use your needle tool and cut into the clay. Don't be afraid to cut in kind of deep. You want the more surface area the better, so that that really attaches. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to score all of my slabs. Now this is where I differ from a lot of people in how I connect my clay. What I do is I don't use slip. I use vinegar. Now vinegar, I just keep in a little container like this, paint it on with a brush, and it becomes a little bit cleaner. There's not as much goop. There's not a lot of stuff to scrape off, and it really works nice and making a very nice solid connection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my vinegar and I'm going to load up the brush. I'm just going to paint some vinegar on there. Paint some vinegar on the other side. Then when these two sides come together, you see you do get a lot of that nice gush that comes out. So we're going to put this one together. This one. This one together. Okay. Now, before I told you about these tools right here, your knife, your smoothing tool, smoothing rib or metal rib, and then the modeling tool. What you can do here is give a nice amount of pressure. You can give a nice amount of pressure right here on the seam, so that helps move that clay out, and then I can move it like this, back and forth on both sides. Use my rib. And you'll get a little feather of clay that you can just take off. And then you want to disguise that edge the best you can so that it does not show, you can't tell which side the smoothing happened on. Again, go here, push, 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 and that compression helps keep that clay together. Okay, so we only cut out 4 sides, so we still need our top and our bottom. But we have a template right here. We're going to set our template right on top. Trace around it. Trace around the inside. That way, when we lift it, we know right where we need to score it. So I can score this one. Of course, we can use our scoring tool on our other one, on the bottom of this, so that it matches up. Paint my vinegar in. And then now when you push it down, you want to take every side and give it a little bit of a wiggle. So I'm going to clamp the whole side, and you should be able to see the very bottom here. I'll zoom in for you. But you want to be able to see that gush of clay coming out. A little bit of vinegar in this case. You don't want to mush the sides of the clay. Push that down. And then I can take one of my tools, cut right along the edge, get all that stuff off of there. So take all these sides off, turn this over. Compress that clay down. Now for the last side of the box, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just flip this over. Again, just like we did the bottom. That's why you only need 4 sides, because you're just making your template for the other sides. But you want to make sure that they remain as square as possible. If they sink in, if this side sank in, then that wouldn't be right. You want to make sure that they are straight. So here, what I can do is I can score all the way around again. So here we have that part. What do we need to do? A little bit of vinegar. And the vinegar has one really cool side effect too. It smells like vinegar. So those of you that love vinegar smell, this technique is for you. I don't know how many of you are out there, but yeah, I'm sure we have some vinegar fans. Makes me think of the fair fries, the vinegar fries. You know who you are. All right, so finish up this. Squish it back down on here. Okay. Cut my box top off. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, then we have the top of the box. We just repeat the same thing that we did on the bottom. And I know what you're thinking. I know exactly what you're thinking. Mr. Ertz, how do I get inside the box? Well, this box is going to have a kind of a cool lid to it. And it's going to be a nice, clean, crisp, finished lid. So I'm going to first need to make everything crisp and clean first. And you can do this you could just sit here and smooth the whole thing for probably a whole class period, because it's just that satisfying. So I'm going to continue smoothing this, and then I'll take a break and bring it back when it's all perfect. Okay, so I have my whole cube, my whole box, smooth about as best as I can get it. And now I'm going to just wipe it down quickly with a little sponge or wet paper towel. And that'll take care of a lot of those little burrs that we get. So don't try to overdo this with a sponge, because all it does is adds a lot of moisture to it, and you don't want to add too much moisture. The clay's, unless the clay is really dry, you don't want to over wet it. But this just gets a lot of the scrapey texture off. I think that's a technical word, scrapey texture. But if we see this right here, we have some of that scrapey stuff going on. Want this with a paper towel or one of our little yellow sponges. I'd probably be using a yellow sponge if I had brought one of those home, but that was one of the things that I did not. We got that one. Just looking for good craftsmanship. keeping those corners crisp. A crisp corner looks intentional. It's like, I want it to look like that. If it's all round and goofy looking, you can't say, yeah, I want it to look like that. So we have our box. Now, we got to make a lid for this. Wait, it's a solid box. So if I took a needle tool and I drew a line straight across here, cut that all the way through, all the way around, I could lift that right off, right? But the problem is, once it gets fired, it's really hard, and if I tip this, the box will go sliding off. So if I take one of my needle tool and instead of going straight across, all the way across, I make like a dip. And then I go across. If I cut this all the way around, then if I tip this, hey, my lid won't slide off, right? So if you do that maybe in a couple different places, one over here, one here, you can do it on all four sides just for unity. But if you cut it with a little bit of a little bump in there, it just locks that lid right on. Don't go crazy with it. Don't make it like a jack-o'-lantern, because then it's always weird and then it won't fit right and you'll have trouble figuring out which way fits. And plus, one of those little jaggedy things always breaks off. So if you just keep it simple, elegant, and maybe one little bump on each side, then it will be a nice little clean lid. You can clean that up and your lid will fit. Okay, I drew all the way around. My bumps in different places on all the four sides. And so now I'm going to cut through. If your clay is soft enough to do this, then you can cut all the way through. If your clay is still a little bit if it's hardened up a little bit too much, what you can do is draw your line deeper, then draw it deeper again, and then draw it deeper until it goes all the way through your box. Now all that's left to do is clean up my edge, and you don't want to destroy this texture here. All I want to do is just pick off all those little burrs, because then if I clean it up too much, I'm going to have a gap someplace. So this is basically my finished box. I just have a little bit of cleanup, and I could take a slab and I could just put, since I have little curves on the side, I could do a little curvy slab here so that I can pick up my whole box, my box lid. Well guys, here's my finished box. Something happened to it. Animals are everywhere around this place. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time for something else.